Hello, welcome to the latest edition of Data in the Hallway. My name is Ray Pate, Community Manager for TiDB, joined by my colleague Daniel. How are you, Daniel?
Hello, I'm doing well. You?
Good, good, thank you. So in this episode, we're excited to have Dave Stokes, a new Community Manager at DBeaver, joining us. We've been wanting to talk to someone from DBeaver for a while. It just hasn't worked out for various reasons. I think almost a year. Dave, I'm glad you agreed to join us, although you're still new and learning things at DBeaver. To tell us about what you do and your business and all of that, and the impetus for this episode. I mean, I think this actually technically happened a while ago, but we've been having like a blog post over the past few years about TiDB's integration with DBeaver. So that's sort of the genesis of the talk. But welcome, Dave. Great to have you on. So.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, I mean, without like a further ado, let's for people. I mean, I think people that are in the database space may very well be familiar with DBeaver, but in case they aren't, like, tell us a little bit about DBeaver and what kind of users you typically have using your product.
Well, DBeaver is a database communication tool, to put it in a very vague, non-descriptive phrase. 25 years ago, your company had a database. Maybe it had a production and a test database. And then the cloud hit, and suddenly you have a couple dozen databases, and now you might have hundreds, if not thousands, of databases. And one of the problems you have is that there's really no consistent interface to all of them. So if you have a couple Postgres instances, a mysql instance, a TiDB instance, and over there you have a SAS instance, and you're trying to keep your sanity while being able to talk to all those databases in the same way, that's what DBeaver's for. It gives you a consistent interface. It lets you do all the SQL work you want to do. It does entity relationship maps. It does query building, does all the editing stuff that you're used to. And it gives you a nice consistent interface for every database. You can run your backups, do everything else. It's kind of like a utility tool for working with databases.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I learned about, DBeaver because I've been away from database space for a while, after reading like a documentation and blog posts on DBeaver. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty impressive if people go, I'll include it in the episode description. If you go to the, DBeaver homepage, one of the first things I checked was like a number of databases that you support. I mean, you mentioned like in addition to TiDB, but like
Believe it,
Postgres and MySQL. Yeah,
over 140 going towards 150.
yeah. I was about to say dozens, but it's well over 100, I guess. So yeah, a lot of databases that you support, and because I mean, like you said, like you rarely find users or companies that are just using like one single database. I mean, your life would be a lot simpler if that were the case, but that you wouldn't need a database management tool, I guess. But that's not the reality. And the other thing I really like about DBeaver is that I mean you like open source is a key part of your business and just like TiDB and PingCAP. So yeah, tell us about like if you want to just kick the tires and if you're like a single individual and wanted to use an open source edition, like what kind of features are available for open source users and you obviously have commercial offerings as well, right?
Yeah. Well, technically we're open core. So the main functionality is there with an Apache license. And it's a handy tool where you connect to your databases, do whatever work you need to do, and run from there. Now, we do have paid different editions like CloudBeaver, which is if you're doing a lot of stuff in the cloud and you're running all these funny little keys, Enterprise Edition and Ultimate Edition. And we have an edition for teams. So if you're working with a big team and you're trying to coordinate everything, that's the way to go. And all of these are available for a 14-day free trial. So please come kick the tires, give us a spin around the block, and I think you'll find it very handy. But the things like data editing, entity relationship maps, query building, um, they're all there in the free version. Now, it's interesting. We've been doing a lot of work with AI tools, and in the paid versions, the AI interface is a little bit more evolved. But if you want to start working, so like with Gemini or OpenAI or something like that, I think maybe it's OpenAI is the only one on the free version. You can start working with that. And what's interesting there is for the folks who find SQL too quirky, the syntax just is horrible. You can start saying, hey, give me the top 5 customers for the past quarter. Oh, this query failed. Why? AI, go out and take a look at this query and tell what I'm missing. Oh, I'm missing a join here. So there's some abilities to do that sort of thing. And where that's really handy is, once again, if you're playing with 5 or 6 different types of databases and you remember what the word is with MySQL, but you don't remember what it is with Postgres on how to do something or vice versa, it will guide you through that. So um, it's a support tool, it's a database management tool, it's a SQL writing tool. It's just very, very handy. And once again, the enterprise editions, go out and try it for 14 days, and I'm pretty sure you'll be impressed with it.
Cool. Yeah, I think the model, like, when I look through, like, I think you have a table comparing like what's available in community versus enterprise edition. It reminded me of, like, GitLab, where I used to work at, because GitLab, you have a, community edition for a small, group of people. But if you need like more features for larger teams and enterprises, you have a paid edition. And I think at GitLab, we also use the term open core as well, which, I mean, which unfortunately, just like open source, it's like people have different interpretation of what that means, but hopefully that makes sense. Like you have a, basically you have a community edition that's free, available on the open source license, and the paid version that's proprietary. But yeah, I think some of the tools. Oh, and then just to follow up on the open core model, I saw a panel discussion last year in a virtual conference called OSACON. I think I'll probably add a link to that panel discussion too, that your CEO Tatiana did with the CEO of Altinity, and also with Peter Zaitsev, talking about building a business model with open source. So I thought that was very a nice discussion. Um, I think, among a lot of different tools that you talked about, in DBeaver, the other, like, I think you also have tools for like a data migrations as well,
Yeah.
between the different databases or even different data sources. But yeah, if you can tell us a little bit more about, for TiDB users that are trying to migrate the data to TiDB, how DBeaver, for example, could help.
Yeah. Now, 2 quick ones. One of the things that as a DBA I used to get hit with all the time is someone send me a CSV and say, hey, I need this as a database. And they're not a database person, they're an accountant or they're a product manager or something. And with DBeaver, you can click on the CSV, get the nice grid stuff, and say, okay, I want to take this from here and put it into a new TiDB database. And it will do the migration for you and load your data. What's also great about that is if you're going from on-prem to the cloud or vice versa, you basically say, okay, take it from here, put it over here, and away you go. It's one of those handy tools. Like I was mentioning, get a CSV from somebody and say, hey, turn this into a database. You have no idea what it is. You know what it's like when you click that button and that screen fills up and you're looking at gibberish. Well, is that their actual data, or is that something that's been munged? You really can't tell sometimes. But DBeaver is one of those great tools for managing your data. Yeah. And I'd like to go back to the open source thing. This gray hair kind of tells that I started my computer career before open source really became a power. Um, in the old days, you made your choice and you were stuck with it. You couldn't really move from an IBM machine to a digital or a Unisys or something like that. the ability to move data around is probably what's really fueled the economy in the past 40 years. And being able to do that easily with a tool like DBeaver is amazing. Now, some people come back to me and say, yeah, but everything should be open source. Well, to a certain point, yeah, I really love open source. But there are some things, well, the companies need to make a profit to be able to keep continuing. But there are some times where there's extra tools that it's better to bite the bullet and pay for it. I mean, we're not talking about an arm and a leg here. It's one of those things where there's some handy stuff that we add in the enterprise versions that if you're doing a lot of data movement, you really want. It makes life so much easier. It's kind of like going from a car with roll-up windows to cars with electric windows. It seems like something cheesy, you don't really need that. What's the world value to not doing this? You're getting exercise, but it's so much easier. And it just makes your life better and it saves you time, which is the one thing that everyone needs is more time.
Yeah, and with the open source version, I think it's still a complete tool that you can use, and like I personally use it every so often. So like having a decent open source version and then some enterprise editions, I think that's a very fair way of doing things.
Yeah, it's definitely not crippleware. It's something that is very, very handy in the open source version. And the enterprise versions are a lot of cherry on top of the whipped cream on your banana split. It's just an extra stuff that really makes it sweeter for you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously, there are certain corners of open source enthusiasts. It's, think that everything should be free. But I mean, unfortunately, there are like the realities that, like David, that you talked about. Like, we have to fund ourselves somehow. I mean, that's one. But I mean, the other thing that I point out is that um, for I mean, there are a lot of companies that have sort of have this open core model. Like people wouldn't be paying the license fees or support fees if they didn't see a value, right? I mean, there are reasons why people are um, paying money for certain features or like enterprise edition. So yeah, I think some of that conversation happened between like a Tatiana and Peter Zaitsev as well. That I encourage people to revisit. I'll definitely post a link to the recording from last year.
Well, you
Um,
know what it's like. The
yeah,
counter say we don't
yeah,
want to pay for TiDB. We
right,
want to use the free version.
right,
Well, is there anything you pay for? Oh yeah, we pay for
right,
Microsoft Office, we pay for the super duper Docker,
right,
we pay for this, we pay for
yeah,
that, but we don't want to pay for your stuff. And that's how
yeah.
we
Yeah,
frustrated
no, I
with that.
mean, for TiDB, you could. That's a viable option. Like if you're willing to manage it and support it on your own, I mean that is an option. But obviously, we have a lot of customers who think it's worthwhile to have a pay version on the cloud, so or even on-prem in their data centers.
Yeah.
But so cool. Yeah, it's an ongoing discussion. So cool. Uh, I mean, the other thing that you mentioned, or we talked about was, I mean, you support well over 100 like the databases. I mean, I wanted to know, like, for tools like you, like, how do you decide, like, like if you're looking at a new database, like, when do you say, yeah, we should definitely could support this database and have an integration with database XYZ? Like, I'm sure there isn't like a easy checklist, but how do you go about deciding like what new databases to support and when? Like,
Um, I've been with DBeaver now for just a little bit over a month, and every morning I sit down with some of our very talented engineers, and we go in with the requests we've gotten overnight. Sometimes they're a bug report, other times they're feature requests. And in the feature requests, we go, hey, can you support XYZ database? So a lot of it's demand. So if we're not supporting your current database, please put in a ticket. It will go out there. The big thing is that DBeaver works through an ODBC or JDBC connector. If there's one of those out there already, that makes it a lot easier. And we do take requests. So if we're not supporting you right now, please let us know because we want to support you.
Yeah, and I think how that happened with TiDB is that earlier versions of DBeaver that didn't have TiDB support were already working with TiDB with the mysql driver. But then the new TiDB support that was added like quite a while back now. Just make sure that the default port is the right one for TiDB, and the explain plan looks slightly different, so that's handled better. So the main driver is still the MySQL driver, but it's just like all the tiny things that are still important that needs to be adjusted, that are done. And like I think that's also true for probably like MySQL and MariaDB support, that like they're like just small differences, but they are all handled correctly with DBeaver, and I think that's quite good.
Yeah, I mean, every morning there's at least two or three of us going through all the new submissions that came in overnight and um, doing triage on them. If this is a feature request, um, for a new database, we want to support more databases. So, please let us know.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, which reminds me, as Daniel, you were talking, I should have like links to our docs page in terms of how you work with TiDB and DBeaver. So I'll make sure to include that. And yeah, so cool. And yeah, and I mean, we're talking about like a different features of DBeaver, like including like a migration, like building queries, and then like even like helping with editing. I think one of the things that I think we talked about in the past, like because I think I even saw a blog post on this as well, sort of comparing because I mean, obviously, we do a lot of work with like a MySQL users and MySQL community, like comparing like a MySQL workbench versus like what you have available in DBeaver. So if you could talk a little bit about that, Dave, I think a lot of our community members may find it useful. But
Well, a lot of folks may not know I was
yeah,
a community manager for MySQL for a long time, and Workbench was always one of my favorite tools. What was interesting about it is MySQL bought it from a third party. I don't remember the original name. And unfortunately now it's they haven't officially came out and said it's depreciated, but or deprecated, however we want to say it. But it's one of those things where they're not making more advances with it. It's a sad thing. It's a good tool. And now they're saying, well, we're going to move all that sort of functionality over to Shell for VS Code and the MySQL shell. Um, it's okay, but it's not what people want. Now, the great thing about DBeaver is it has, I'd say, 95% of the functionality of Workbench. It doesn't have the little queries that you can run out and see what queries are redundant, what tables are running without indexes, that sort of trick. But those type of queries are out there on the internet. But it's one of those things where if you need to do a backup, you want to check on your data, you're moving stuff around, you're doing searches. It's a handy SQL interface tool. It's a handy database management tool. I won't say it's Workbench on steroids, but it's a slightly different approach, and it has a lot of power. So if you're worried about Workbench going away, please go out and give us a try. DBeaver has a lot of features that you're used to doing. Entity relationship maps. It's a 2-button click. You click on the tables, click show, show the map. Boom, it's there. It's very handy, and I think it will probably end up being the replacement because I don't think Oracle's going to change course on Workbench, and I don't know if Shell or VS Code Shell will be able to take over for that.
cool.
So like
And it's
I
also a
personally,
PG admin alternative. So if you're in the Postgres world and you don't like PG admin, or you need to work with both, it's one interface to both databases.
yes. So like one of the things that I usually use is just a command line interface, like a MySQL client or so, because that's what I'm used to. But a while back, I was working with geospatial data, and that just doesn't work in like a command line version because like showing a map command line is not really useful. So I tried MySQL Workbench. It was trying to like show things, but the map still looked a bit distorted. And then with the DBeaver, like that was able to like show the map. I think it's like using OpenStreetMap or something similar. And that was like so useful to like for those that are working with geospatial data. And the same might be true for like other like things that don't really work as well in the command line.
Yes. What's interesting is 20 years ago, we told people in MySQL, don't store images. It's wasteful. It takes up a lot of space. It's not really searchable. So don't store images. Well, now we have all these large language models where we have all this vector data string. So we're storing data about pictures that's bigger than the picture out there in the database, which is also something that it's kind of hard to visualize. And it's just interesting how data changes. And like Daniel's mentioning, um, geospatial data is its own unique set of display problems. And DBeaver is the best that I've seen doing that sort of display.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I obviously, I mean, like I said, we have a lot of community members that, that have either are migrating or migrated from MySQL, and if Workbench is a feature that you miss, you definitely have an alternative with DBeaver. So I encourage people to check that out. Cool. Yeah, I mean, so I think that's like, I mean, I think that's went through all the questions that I have. I mean, we're certainly excited that I mean, it's been I think a couple of years now, or maybe not quite so, that DBeaver added TiDB as a supported database. So we're obviously very excited, and we're excited to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, before I jump to the next question, I mean, David, anything else that you want to add regarding like a DBeaver and TiDB or?
If you're using TiDB and you love DBeaver, drop me a note. Let me know. We're always looking for happy customers, so we can ask them questions about what we need to add,
Right.
that sort of thing. Other thing, I should probably bug you to remind you that you have a show coming up this fall at the Computer Museum in the Silicon Bay area,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, yeah.
come up there.
So yeah, obviously, like I'll add a link to that too. Very, very timely. We're is starting to, drum up excitement for people to register and also submit talks for our conference. So the event's called Scale. So yeah, I'll add a link to that event as well. And yeah, I mean, David, hopefully we can see you or other folks from DBeaver there as well. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
If nothing else, it's at the Computer History Museum, which is one of my favorite places around here. So
Yeah, and also for those who are not able to attend the event, like go see the Computer History Museum. It's really interesting.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, for like we're talking about our age, like I was getting excited about looking at old disk drives the size of a washing machine, and my daughter was just shaking her head. She didn't even know what that was or cared what that storage device was. But it's
Not too far from the Computer History Museum.
yeah,
I lived in San Diego for a long time, and
yeah.
whenever we went to the Bay Area for business, we'd go to the original Fry's Electronics store.
Oh yeah,
Across the parking lot from them was a place called Weird Stuff, which had all the Xerox Altos, the big CDC washing machine drives, the
all right,
tape drives like you see in the sci-fi movies that had the tape spinning backwards to show that it was
all right,
working really quick.
yeah,
It used to be a thing where you go in there, you see all this old computer stuff that was absolutely amazing. And there'd always be some guy in the corner, probably about 10 years older than whatever age you were, saying, I remember working on these. These were great. I mean, they held a whole 5K of memory.
right, right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, for people who like reminiscing about old technology, that's the place to be. So definitely worth a visit. Yeah, cool. So yeah, I mean, thanks for reminding people about our Scale event, and hopefully we'll see a lot of listeners or people that are watching on YouTube there, along with you there, Dave. So hope we can see you there again in person. So I think we came to the last question, which is a trivia question that we ask for all of our guests. Is to ask our guests where they're located, and you told us before the show, David, that you're from Justin, Texas. I had to look it up where it was. I had no idea what Justin was. So yeah, tell us about Justin and what's noteworthy about the town. So.
Well, we're north of Fort Worth and west of Dallas. So I'm probably about a 34-minute drive from DFW Airport. It's nicely located because I can go to Fort Worth for events or Dallas for events. I'm an hour from the Oklahoma border. A lot of interesting community. Now, this place actually started as a French socialist commune in 1848. After the Texas Revolution, Texas was a home to everyone trying to get from any place else. We have Czech, we have Polish, we have Italian, we have French, all these little communities that settled. And unfortunately for these folks, is they got swindled on a land deal. And a lot of them went to a small town called Dallas, which was then only 400 people. Now, the town is actually named after a railroad engineer, the chief engineer of the Santa Fe Railroad, and not after Justin Boots. But in about 40, 50 years ago, Justin Boots opened up their wholesale business here. So I'm literally across the railroad tracks from Western Wear Outlet Center. So it's kind of an interesting area. And if you're a NASCAR fan or an IndyCar fan, I'm about 5 miles north of Turn 3 of the Texas Motor Speedway. So
nice.
It's a handy little place to live.
Cool. Yeah, I learned something new. Like, yeah, I had no idea, like when you said Justin, like where it was in Texas. I mean, like, is it near Houston? Is it near Austin? But yeah, so
well,
cool.
the thing a lot of folks don't realize is it takes you driving west to east or east to west a full day to drive across Texas. It's just extremely vast. And north to south is just a little bit shorter, but not that much.
Yeah.
And all these crazy little communities that have their own little fabric and their own group of restaurants. And one of the things the wife and I like to do is we'll go off and visit a restaurant an hour and a half away on a Saturday that we've seen featured, and just everything's out there, just depending what you're in the mood for.
Cool. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. I mean, thanks for sharing some bits about Justin, Texas. Like, I guess if you're a NASCAR fan, you might have a chance to go check it out. So,
yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, it was great having you, David. I'm sure we'll see you at an event somewhere and talk about open source and databases. So,
okay.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on. Appreciate
Thank you, Daniel and Ray, and have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.